Dragon Lane. And this is what they were known for domestically. And I think we can see it once again coming to draft of game number 1 of SBTC Esports versus Team Secret with Darius now banned away.
I figured the next ban from SBTC has to be Olaf here, right? Otherwise, Team Secret kind of get the pieces for their, as Riku would put it, and as you know, the casters from the Philippines will put it, the unkillable composition, where they move around as a death ball and they just take every fight and destroy every fight because of the sustain as well as the bruisers on their lineup.
Yeah, that unkillable composition. You have Seraphine, Sona, Olaf, and probably another strong champion individually. Sometimes Team Secret flex out the Galio towards it. If ever someone would get maybe countered onto the pick, they could adjust very easily, and this is what Team Secret was known for. Now, SBTC Esports is locking into Fiora as a priority, potentially onto the Baron lane, but still unknown as it may go to the jungle.
Honestly, I hate to say this, but I don't trust Minas on Fiora. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but when I was watching the VODs of this guy, he didn't display the highest mechanics. As we see immediately, Team Secret, they're going for it. Infinity, the unkillable composition. Here we go. Olaf, Seraphine.
Yeah, I think Seraphine, Olaf, with them securing it. Sona is not particularly the best support coming from SBTC Esports, as it needs something else to follow up onto this support as well. So they cannot force to cancel that out, and Team Secret has all in mind that they can go for the Sona, they can go for the Galio, as Galio is left open as well by SBTC Esports.
You know what's funny now? I was about to say what's funny now is because Renekton is enabled. This is like the better version of Darius to a certain extent, right? Because it's banned out. He has that mobility. He wants to be the frontliner, and when he has these heals and speed boosts behind him, he looks so much scarier than the Darius itself.
Definitely, but Lee Sin and are now going to be locked in by SBTC Esports. Now, the question would be, how can this be utilized against Team Secret onto the unkillable composition? Although, I do think SBTC is looking for the early game, so that when it comes to the mid-game, late game, Team Secret doesn't really have the potential to go for the unkillable composition as their power spike. Because early game, Team Secret with the unkillable composition is not actually the best in the world.
Yep.
So, I think that is what SBTC Esports is looking to. And we have found a loophole that may potentially change the game. But the question would be, is if it's going to be successful.
I think here SBTC Esports, they need to be focusing the Dragon lane, right? Put the Seraphine Sona behind, and because you have the Rakan and Lee Sin, you're able to really put pressure on that lane. There's very accessible crowd control from the Grand Entrance, and the mobility from the Lee Sin allows you to cheat like specific paths to come behind them and kind of get a good flank position. So I think that's what I'm looking for from SBTC Esports here to kind of counter this composition.
Oh, speaking of the early game, we talked about how early game is going to be the key to victory of SBTC Esports. And they went for the 4-man, 5-man roam when it comes to the very early game. And they're looking for Tatsuri. Now, Tatsuri having the vision onto Minas into the mid lane and having Corral into the mid lane as well gives him the information on what SBTC Esports is looking forward into and wanting to do in the map. And if you're looking at it, Olaf is not the greatest at level 1. That enables how Lee Sin and also the Rakan to just go for the invade onto the red buff.
Yep, because of the lane swap, and like you said, they're able to just make moves into the jungle and take stuff away. It also puts pressure on Azar, because now he knows, hey, there's every opportunity for Rakan to just be lurking past this corner for him to come and gank me with the Lee Sin. So he has to be very careful going up against Julie. Now, you would wonder, why Julie, not Minas, in this matchup? Is because one of them has an accessible crowd control in the form of the Charm, so you can set up and layer. The other one doesn't.
Ooh, but now it's going to be Team Secret going for the contest onto the jungle invade by SBTC Esports. But we have Kiral going in for the pressure as well. Ezreal at level 1, level 2 is such an amazing champion because you can just have folks arc and shift away if you want to go for it. And that is what Kiral utilized. Team Secret is back into the mid lane.
SBTC, they're still holding strong with the movements on the map. You can see in the river, though, big contest coming in.
Hamiz actually very low on HP. The flash is now going to be burned. That is pretty huge from SBTC Esports as they get the spell advantage in the first 1 minute and 40 seconds of that match, with Trevor not being able to get the red buff at level 1 and having to go for the bottom side river of SBTC Esports. So even just go for the red buff off themselves is now delayed when it comes to level 3 against a level 4 of a jungle, as SBTC Esports is looking for an early game advantage currently.
Yeah, the jungle level difference plus the rotations on the map make it such that Trevor cannot really walk around to contest anything. You can see he's walking up immediately. Rakan is in.
Grand entrance.
Okay, well, they found that fight, then they disengaged, but this is looking a bit dicey right now. You can see that Team Secret, they're still looking to contest this blue buff, and well, as Olaf goes, you kind of need that blue buff to keep your mana up. We'll see how SBTC look to react to this. Should be noted that TF did not go to clear his own blue buff. Instead, he's going for the aggressive bot side play coming in here. I was looking for the blue buff as Trevor's still sticking around. He's looking for the show and tell here, but instead SBTC will just back off. They see the manpower arriving from Team Secret. They just back out. There's still a whole top side here for a TF to clear. He needs that level 5 ASAP to start setting up the plays onto Team Secret. For the most part, goal is still very even between SBTC Esports and Team Secret. Items coming in. First bases should be completed here as Minas goes for the Sheen. Looks to complete the Trinity Force. Luden's Echo is going to be a choice here for Julie, whereas Black Cleaver is the choice for Azar. Now, Kano just arriving to make sure that Julie doesn't get jumped on. Having the dominance available is a big threat for Julie, even though he has Spirit Rush. 30 seconds on the Inferno Dragon. Now, that's a big one. Both teams will be looking to contest the Inferno just because of the stats it provides. 8% increase to damage is no laughing matter, and I think that's why we see a lot of teams looking to fight for this. With 15 seconds on the clock, they need to step up the vision. They need to put the wards down. Infinity, I think he DC'd, so he should be back soon, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, it's going to be a solo cast here. Hungry Cast bringing you all the action. 4 seconds on the clock. Team Secret, they're not in position. Azar is now going to base and now make his way down. So no one really on the side of Team Secret with the initiative yet. Here comes the grand entrance. They look at to turn on to the Sona, but the turnaround with the crescendo. Have they gone too far is the question. SBTC now having to disengage. Hames with a quick ultimate to make sure that SBTC can't chase on in. Scuttle Crab is going to be started up here from SBTC. Team Secret, this is where it starts. The unkillable composition, the death ball. They're grouping up. They're looking for this Inferno Dragon with the rift, with the Scuttle Crab just below them. They will have this movement speed. Trying to contest here again. Spirit Rush in. They look for the backline. Can they get the kill though as he's going to flash away? A good knockup from the grand entrance, and that is first blood for SBTC. Now the fight continues. They will be looking for a second here as it's going to be Minas that dies first. Azar now the next target of focus, having to use the slice and dice to get away. A 1-for-1 trade nonetheless. Inferno Dragon still up. Team Secret, they have to back off. With the death on the board, this unkillable composition not really doing what it says on the box. It's starting to look like it's falling apart for Team Secret. Even though they do have the goal lead, they haven't reached that power point just yet. Inferno Dragon still up. And both teams will just reset and look to buy first.
1-for-1 currently. A very interesting setup.
Kiral here still leaning on the Mana Immune, waiting to level up to more mana. Now, Ezreal, for the most part, is a scale. We have that impact that early on, apart from the True Shot Barrage, as we see Inferno Dragon once again being started up by SBTC. They might be able to take this one before the contest comes in. Grand Entrance just to zone them away, and that is going to be SBTC Esports. Smiting and taking away the Inferno Dragon, so no shenanigans just yet. They will collect it, they will get the buff for themselves, and they will swap over because Rift Herald is up in 5 seconds, and you need your Dragon Lane there as well.
Yeah, and SBTC Esports, considering that they have gotten the Infernal Dragon, I think this would be in good synergy with their early game composition because they lack when it comes to late game. This 6% damage bonus can lead them to maybe a little bit on par of Team Secret to try and climb up when it comes to the mid game, late game as well. If every Team Secret gets the power spike onto that phase of the game. As now it's going to be Trevor going for the face check. That's going to be a bad move. Lee Sin goes in as Ragnarok will be forced to go and cast away. The True Shot Barrage will be there, but it will miss just a sliver of inches for Trevor to its death. But now it's going to be Team Secret trying to go for the Vision, but no Vision will be sided up. And SBTC Esports will get the Globe Herald Slate.
Yeah, because they're able to chunk out Trevor, SBTC get full control of this pit, and GA first item for TF, he knows his job, right? He's going to look for the kind of pick on these fights. He's going to be starting things off, and the second life definitely helps him complete that endeavor. for the most part, gold is extremely even, but we have to see how SBTC makes use of this Rift Herald. I generally like it thrown down on mid tier 1 to open up the map, but the easy take is always going to be the Baron tier 1 instead.
Grand Entrance with the quickness actually going in for the CC chain against Miz, but they're fighting under the turret, and turret is not going to be the best key as always when it comes to the 5v5. SBTC will not get any kills, however, get some pressure onto the Baron lane.
They also blew the command shockwave from Tatsuri, so this is a small window where they can look for these dirty skirmishes in the jungle. TF always lying on the lurk, looking for the insect in. He's looking for the kick first. Can he do it is the question.
Not gonna follow through. They're just respecting each other for now. It's basically a standstill for anyone to go for the aggressive play, because if you're looking at the gold, they're pretty much even. Only 100 gold difference, and if someone tries to go for a hyper aggressive movement and they make a mistake, it's gonna end so bad for their team, leading for their enemy team to gain the gold lead. And I think that is what
quite a few times, like when teams just contest the dragon and they die, like get aced 6 minutes in and the game is over. So you can see this restraint is actually the kind of optimal play here for some of the teams.
Definitely. So pretty much, I think they're just waiting for the right opportunity, not going for the overextension, just clearing out some waves, going in for some gold, wait for the right opportunity, wait for their items to be built up before they try some epic maneuver from any of these teams at the moment, as SBTC is looking for the tier 1 into the Baron lane.
I think, yeah, they want the Herald here. They might just look to drop this once that tier 1 in the Baron lane is low enough for the most part. However, the sustain from Chewy and James, it's so annoying to deal with this because they can consistently heal each other up. Grand Challenge being used by Minas, but I don't think he can find that one-on-one kill. He doesn't have the items or levels just yet. Like, he's at level 10, that's a good space, but he needs one more item, I think, to really take it to Azar.
Definitely, I think with the Grand Challenge, Azar just went back away. You have extra sustainability because you have the Black Cleaver and already the Vampire Scepter as well. So pretty much you cannot burst the Renekton that easily. And as you stated, Trinity Force and potentially even the BRK could be an answer that Minas is building up into, because BRK, as we keep on talking about throughout the day of Summer Super Cup, that it gives you extra percentage damage for every hit. And top of all that, you gain extra attack speed. And considering that Fiora utilizes that very well, I think this can be used against Azar when it comes to the mid game.
Look at this, look at this. Right now, items, they've already picked up the kind of Grievous Wounds items on both Julie and Kiral. I think that's super important, especially when you're going up against Seraphine and Sona. A lot of value from just these two items picked up. It cuts the healing by a significant amount, and that removes some of the threat of this unkillable composition, because the win condition for Team Secret here is sustaining through long-term fights. They want to be able to heal up and re-engage. If you cut the healing, it feels worse.
Oh, the quickness though is gonna connect onto two. That's gonna get a good charm for SBTC Esports. It's now gonna be TF going for the Sonic Wave, not actually putting down Crabber. Crabber will be safely backing away. Azar is now gonna get pinned down to 1 HP. That's gonna be Rakan putting him down, and Team Secret will be at a loss once again. That engagement, as Dewey also died prior to that engagement.
Yep, you can see the Grievous Wound starting to take its toll. The healing isn't there. The kind of long-term sustained battles for Team Secret no longer an option. So they have to be very careful how they pick their fights. And the engages from Akeno and TF have been so on point, right? Understanding who to jump on, who to kill off first. And if they get the right targets, the fight is won.
Yeah, and the Rift Herald being spawned up into the Baron lane from the base gives out Team Secret, what are we going to do? Because you have the split pushing happening for Fiora from Minas into the Dragon lane as well. So it's a lot of pressure that Team Secret needs to think about. What do they want to prioritize? Because they cannot split their manpower into two, because that will divide how much they can take on against SBTC Esports. And considering that they have an unkillable composition, means that they need to be on top of each other when it comes to 5v5 team fight to utilize how much utilities that they have when it comes to the
look at this right now. Steric's Gauge completed from Minas. So this is the item, including the Protobelt enchantment that he wants to use to kind of go one-on-one against Azar. If he finds the right angles, if he's able to chip him down with enough vital procs, he's going to take that 1v1.
But we have Crabber actually having the sights first onto TF, but considering the mobility, he's back away. And SBTC Esports having hovering into the Baron lane as well, is looking to go for the punish here. But mid lane, we have Azar, Cream and Roll for Team Secret, going for the clear wave.
By the way, like you mentioned, like Blade of the Ruined King, the way it procs is kind of different in Wild Rift. You need 3 kind of abilities, auto attacks to proc it off. And because of the Ruthless Predator on Renekton, it procs the moment you activate it and with 1 auto attack following. So I think that's a really good item coming in just to give you that additional movement speed.
Yeah, and the charms of Julie as like magnet onto enemy champions. It just connects out of nowhere, and that is what we need to look into when it comes to the mid game. Because if Julie keeps on connecting those charms against Team Secret, that's not gonna be a great sign for them. When
they're setting up for this pick.
Fight.
They're looking for this
grand entrance. Actually going in for Trevor, and Trevor once again will be forced to use the Ragnarok, not even engage against SBTC, as you have Charm and Grand Entrance going for the CC chain against Team Secret.
SBTC Esports now about, slightly less than 5k ahead. They've got all they need to really take the fight to Team Secret. And the way they've been navigating these fights is by starting off with a pick. Either Grand Entrance or Charm or even a good Dragon's Rage to kill someone first so that they don't have all 5 people alive on Team Secret. Is reflected in the items as well. Infinity Orb for the Ahri because she wants to do more damage when they're low health. A GA for TAF so that he can jump in and start these fights. The Ardent Sensor here, I feel it's a little out of place. I would have liked the Zeeks instead just for that team fight value. But he wants to keep both Kiral as well as TF kind of buffed up in these fights.
Definitely, and as you stated, the Luden Cycle and the Infinity Orb, I think that would give you more burst damage potential, and considering that Ahri is sort of the burst damage, sort of the DPS against Team Secret, I think this would be a good pick of an item for SBTC, and Team Secret is really thinking about what they need to do next, because currently, they're at a 5k gold deficit.
They have no vision too, like as our observers showed us on the Fog of War. They can't really walk up to the jungle. They have no control unless they literally use like their bodies to check, and that's not what you want, especially against the Ahri or the Rakan. So they have to play together. They have to play kind of like stuck as 5 to check together as a unit.
Yeah, and SBTC once again gets a turret into the mid lane. Tier 1 will now fall down, and Team Secret is still on the edge of a corner wherein they need to do something to change the story of the game, as now it's gonna be Rakan trying to fall back away. It's gonna be the flash burned, and Team Secret will just be happy to go back with a spell burned for SBTC Esports.
We saw Julie recalling there. I feel like the play should just be to stay on the Baron lane and just push in, knowing that Team Secret are taking this dragon. You have some space to try and chip down that tier 2 and maybe even pick that one up. But it seems like their play here is we want to group up. We want to contest this dragon. Not necessarily the best one though, because Team Secret are a death ball.
Oh, the discipline coming in from these 2 junglers is there, but SBTC takes the dragon in their favor. They have stolen it once again, and Team Secret is going for the fight onto this one. Azar will be forced to back away. It's gonna be SBTC once again going for the dominant play. It's gonna be the Charm connecting onto a Team Secret, and once again they will be decimated. That's gonna be the 3 kills already for SBTC, and they're looking for more as they dive under the turret. Gets a kill onto the Orianna. That Suri will fall down. It's gonna be the Oppo team mace by SBTC Esports as they look into the mid lane. They're going for the tier 2 turret. Inhibitor turret will be a free real estate for them as well.
9 seconds left on Trevor and Chewy. I don't think they can close this game out, even though they have double canyon minions. They're gonna greed for this. Now TF, he's gonna use his GA. He's gonna buy some space, keeping the minions alive. They could just close out this game. Infinity, a couple more hits. It should be SBTC's game here, and they will finish it 1-1 right now in this group. They come back strong against Team Secret.
What a series that we have just seen. It was so intense that SBTC Esports went for the early game, and this is sort of the loophole that we're talking about. When you have the unkillable composition, your weakness is in the early game, and SBTC has built their draft composition all over the early game.
The first seed from the Vietnam region takes down the second seed of the Philippines region, and a panel 50-50, they were split between SBTC and Team Secret. It was understandably tough to make a decision. But as it stands, SBTC are triumphant over their counterparts here in this game. And just looking at the scoreboard, I loved how they played a macro. This is kind of why I had my vote on SBTC as the one to receive the golden ticket. They understand what their opponents are trying to do. They draft around it. And even though they were faced with, the composition that Team Secret was so comfortable with, they played into it extremely well.
Yeah, definitely. I give it to them as well. SBTC Esports played a very great early game, and even though the graph states otherwise, the Team Secret was going in for the early game type of setup, but it was pretty even that you cannot say and swayed from one side or another. As we talked about a while ago in the first 2 minutes of the matchup, there was only like 100 gold difference, 200 gold difference, and that doesn't really state what happens in the game.